Welcome all of you, to another session from our series on Founders 101. In furtherance of our series and pursuant to the feedback that we've been receiving on the Founders 101 form, we have, curated this session exclusively on how to negotiate a term sheet, with an investor and how to choose your investor. In terms of the clauses that are being that are usually seen in term sheets. Regardless of where you are in your startup stage, you need money to keep the lights on, the team happy, and the momentum going. Raising money may not have been your dream when you began building the company, but be assured that your ability to do so will determine how far you will be able to go in this journey. Understanding the different needs at each stage of funding will equip you with the confidence to engage with your investors with a clear headway of what each of you are looking to get out of a deal. The 5 stages, and clearly as we see in a life of a startup in terms of the funding stages, are as follows, and we'll deal with the nuances and the clauses that we deal with at each stage during the course of this session. The first one being the seed capital round, which is essentially the earliest source of investment for your startup, largely your friends and family round, also as popularly known as. Just bear in mind that no matter when and whom you raise your money from, there is no free money. Your returns and interest of the investment should be very clearly defined, and you should know where you are, when and how you'll be able to pay your investors, whether it's an early stage or late stage. The purpose of seed capital, essentially, when you're raising at this stage, is commonly focused on the R&D for an initial product that you are developing. If friends and family rounds or sources do not help, you also have a lot of seed accelerators who can help you. Like, for instance, to draw a parallel with the US, you have Y Combinator, Techstars, 500 startups, etc., who are the potential options. In India, also, you are seeing some of the seed accelerators who are helping you, with these kind of funding options now. The second, and from there on, is the angel investor funding, which is eventually as your startup needs, grow, and you need to either scale or increase funding towards product development, marketing, or just to expand your team to, keep up the momentum. You may look at angel investors as a solution. Now, if you're raising money at this stage, your business model canvas should clearly be proven. Unlike the previous stage of funding. So you have to have your business idea proven on the market before you reach out to the angel investors for funding. The third stage is the venture capital financing, which is essentially to provide resources to scale your business to new business channels, to new customer segments, or to increase your marketing efforts towards additional customer acquisition, increase your customer base. And your VC essentially stays with you as a strategic partner for life in terms of helping you and mentoring you through all the stages till your IPOs and even beyond. So fourth from here on is essentially the bridge loans or the mezzanine funding, which is when your startup is growing and you're looking to scale significantly with a commercially available product. Your product is already in the market. You are in need of money to keep yourself afloat for some time. You reach out to your existing investors for a bridge round of financing. Your revenue at that stage must clearly be coming in, even though there may be no profits, in the entity. And the last stage, essentially, which is not the end goal for all startups, essentially not the end goal for all startups, I would say, is the initial public offering. So if you have raised money through each of the preceding stages, which is seed, angel, VC, going public is an option to only, expand further. Now, all the investors who have traded their money for equity until this point will ideally, recoup their investment along with additional profit in an IPO. So that's how we have seen, in terms of the different stages of funding that a startup essentially goes through. From here on, let's deep dive into a session with the first question, which I have for Saumya, which is, Saumya, what are some of the factors that the promoters have in mind while they are raising funds? What is the criteria? Why do they look up to investors or external parties for raising funds?
Thank you, Harshita. So, like you clearly put out, there is no free money, even from friends and family as far as business is concerned. So, like Harshita pointed out, it's very, very important to choose the right investor. And money is not the sole defining criteria for making that selection. So let's look at each of the different stages and go through some of the points that the promoters ideally should look at before they decide on the right partner for their business is. So, seed round typically, like Harshita mentioned, is friends and family. So, we are not really looking at, a negotiation or purely set out a common term sheet, but it is absolutely important to have something in writing, even if there are no specific rights given to them, because documentation becomes very, very important when you go forward and raise your initial round of institutional funding. Then when we move to the initial round of funding, this is pretty much the first round of external funding that a company looks at. And at this stage, because like Harshita pointed out, product development is also important. Sorry, I just got a message that my audio is not clear. Is it better?
I can hear you, Saumya. Maybe, yeah, I think we can hear you.
I just have to
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So for the angel round, it's the first instance where the promoter of the company is looking and going to a third party to raise funds. And like Harshita pointed out, these are pretty much incubators, or sometimes they are also high net worth individuals, and who are basically looking to invest because they see some merit and they see profit in the business model of the company. So at this point of time, the promoter should look at both the money coming in and also in terms of who the angel investor is, should also look at what experience and expertise the angel investor comes with. So if it is somebody who is domain experience in the sector where the business is involved, then it definitely helps because it's the first level of mentoring that the promoter gets. And also this is probably the first stage also where a negotiation or a situation arises, because angel investors know their value or their role in the entire system of investors in the entire sector. And hence they usually do ask for certain rights because they know that going forward there are going to be institutional investors and they should get adequate return on the investor in the initial stage that they've shown in the company. Now going to the third stage of funding, which is the venture capital, this is a purely institutional round of funding. And what usually happens is this is a stage where the promoter and the company is looking for a large amount of funding. So in addition to the funding and the money that they are receiving, a couple of other key aspects that they have to keep in mind. One is what is the intent of the investor? Is it a strategic investor mainly who are eventually looking to control the entity of the 5-6 years down the line? That is by way of an acquisition, or is it a kind of investor who is really putting in money to stay in the company for 6-7 years and exit in one of the moves that is set up in the shareholders agreement? So that is one thing that you really need to identify. And the second aspect is, considering there are so many global investors and funds which are looking at investing in India, you should also look at what is the network and the expertise that the VC brings in. So sometimes, if they're looking to take a business abroad, they might come with a global network and they might be able to introduce the promoters to different entities, and in fact even other promoters who might be interested in subsequent round of funding. So the network of the investor becomes a very key aspect. Also, what becomes important is the domain expertise of the VC. If they've invested in similar companies and other jurisdictions, they also bring in that kind of expertise to the table. Also, to end this section of the session, what is also important is, because your investor is going to be on your cap table for a really, really long time, it is also important to have what we call a culture fit. So it is very important that, in addition to just the money and expertise, there should be trust between the promoter and the investor. There should be faith that they are acting in the best interest, and the promoter should have a free hand to do the business as we want. At the same time, the investor should be confident that their interest and the fact that they are taking this amount of risk by way of the VC investment should be protected. So these are some of the factors that the promoter should keep in mind while negotiating or
Thank you, Saumya. I think I'll just flip the next question over to over to Abhinav in terms of how and what is the process of identifying a company when from a fund standpoint. How does the process really work when you're looking at a company where you can invest in?
Thanks, Harshita. Welcome everyone. Good afternoon. I hope all of you and your loved ones are safe and healthy. So Harshita, before I take up that question, I just want to add one thing to what Saumya was mentioning. So in the Indian context, over the past few years, at the angel stage, there is this new category of super angels which has come up. Super angels is just a fancy term for people who be part of the ecosystem, successful founders who've already founded and exited company. And that's also a very key source now. Perhaps not just because of the money that they can put in, they have the money and they invest, but also because of the network and the expertise which they bring in. So anyone looking to raise money also has that bucket now tap into, which did not exist, say, 5-6 years back. And that's something which founders should definitely look at, because these are experienced people. They know they can help you navigate and open up a lot of doors for you. Coming to your question, different funds have a different way of evaluating and analyzing companies. But a couple of things which are common to all of them is that they would obviously decide basis which stage the company is and which stage they are investing. So let's say if it's a very new company which is recently been incubated or has just raised very small capital in an angel round, at this stage, what the fund would be interested in would be the opportunity which the company is gunning for. So they would try and ensure if there's a big market, they would want to try and see if it's a unique but scalable solution. But the most important thing at this stage would be the founding, because institutions, funds understand that businesses have to pivot over time. Different opportunities may come, and businesses would need to adapt. So at a very early stage, I think the three important things which are important is the opportunity, the solution, and most importantly, the founding team. As we go into more later stages, the Series B, that's when the growth and the performance of the company and the team starts coming into picture. Investor would be interested in seeing how the company has grown. They're not necessarily looking at profits. Revenue is important, but sometimes even that's not the most important driving factor. But some sort of demonstrable growth and scalability is what's looked at Series B or Series C stage. And post that is when investors start really digging into the numbers. Again, profitability may or may not be the factor, but the fact that the company has reached a certain scale, the fact that the company has outperformed its other competitors, if there are any, that's what the funds look at. So I would want to approach this on the basis of the stage at which you are raising money, your need of capital, and accordingly, funds also understand and evaluate the same factors and make a decision. But beyond anything and everything in the venture world, the most important thing is the founding team and how close and how strong the founding team is to each other. This is sort of on a high level how funds go about evaluating a company. In terms of the process which the funds follow, again, it depends from funds to funds. But most typically, first thing would be to reach out to one of the principals or analysts, associates in the fund. They would call you, speak to you. If they find it interesting, you would be called on to make a presentation to the partnership. Then there would be a preliminary IC, which will at least authorize the fund to go ahead and issue a term sheet. Post term sheet, diligence, documentation, which we are going to dig in deeper subsequently come in. Now, sometimes funds have a post diligence IC as well, because funds are very cognizant of the fact that there may be diligence issues which arise. And so, post diligence, there is a subsequent IC, which sort of is a final IC to approve the investment. Some funds, which are primarily foreign funds, would also have an external IC where they would present the diligence finding, the collective for the India team, and once that approval comes in, is when the investment factors which funds look at. From a legal perspective, obviously there are different things which we'll talk about going forward. But at an evaluation stage, this is basically the process and the thought process.
Thank you, Abhinav. That was well articulated. So I think once the investors are chosen, or the vice versa, the investors choose the company in which they're ready to invest. I think the deal is sealed by way of the first documentation, which is the term sheet, essentially. And going on to what are the key clauses that we generally see in a term sheet, or what are the clauses that are essentially agreed in the term sheet, which eventually translates into your definitive documents or the SHA or the SSA at a later stage. Over to you, Aditya. If you could throw some light and probably just name into some of the key clauses in a term sheet, and more particularly, if you could discuss, the management rights, the transfer restrictions in terms of right of first offer, right of first refusal, and any other, important rights that get agreed during the term sheet stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, I think just before we jump on to the key clauses, I think the first point I think we should discuss is there are two types of term sheet. One is, say, a binding term sheet, and the other is a non-binding term sheet. The key difference between both the term sheets is that, say, in a non-binding term sheet, the commercials are not binding on both the parties, and only the clauses like, say, the exclusivity or the governing law or the jurisdiction and confidentiality is binding on both the parties. So that is what the investors push for when they sign a term sheet. So basically, after during the term sheet and then the diligence cycle, if there are any change in commercials, we don't face any issue. Now, moving on to first key clause that is generally there in a term sheet is an exclusivity clause. Basically, what an exclusivity clause states is that, say, for a period of 90 days or 120 days, the promoter or the company will not approach any other investors and will not hold on to any discussions with any other funds or any other parties to seek an investment. So this is to ensure that the time and resources which the funds is putting in into evaluating the deal and making the investment is worthwhile. I think the next key clause which generally is included in a term sheet are the management rights. Broadly, there are three management rights which an investor generally seeks. First is a board representation, which is either by way of a board seat, that is nominating individuals onto the board of the company, or nominating observers on the board of the company. So observers are generally basically they just have the right to observe and attend each and every board meeting or the committee meetings of the company, but they don't have a say or they do not have a voting right on the board. Now, in the next key management right which the investors expect is a quorum right. Quorum right is a right wherein, say, for conducting any board meeting or in general body meeting of the shareholders, they would want that at least one of the directors or investor representative is present, and only then a board meeting or a shareholders meeting would be considered as a valid meeting, or any of the resolutions passed thereon would be considered as valid. Basically, this is to ensure that investors at all times have visibility on what is happening at the board level and even at the shareholders level. Now, the next key management right which the investors always ask for are reserved matters. So reserved matters are generally certain key matters based on the business and nature of the business of the company and even the statutory requirements of the company on which the investor would like a say on. So these generally include, say, the business plan, annual budget of the company, any further fundraisers, either equity or a debt fundraise, any reorganization of the company, or say any new strategic partnership or any material contract which the company is going to enter into with any other third party, or say if the company is thinking of starting in a new line of business or new subsidiary, then the investor would want a veto right. So initially at the early stage investment, generally investors push for a veto right. However, subsequently when the subsequent funding rounds happen and new investors and more investors come in, the reserved matters generally push toward an investor majority construct wherein majority of the investors, say there are three lead investors in the company, majority of the three lead investors will take a call on each of the result matter items as and when it comes before the board or if the company is going ahead with any of such matters. I think the next key clause that is covered in the term sheet is the information and inspection right which the investor wants. So typically the information rights cover the unaudited or audited financials of the company on quarterly or yearly basis, the cash flow statements, the MIS reports, the draft board meeting or shareholder meeting minutes, any management management of the company or any other information which the investor would require from a commercial perspective based on the nature of the business of the company. They'll go ahead with and ask for such right. So generally, we have seen that at the early stage, investor would require all of these rights, but as and when more investors coming and the shareholder base expands, the company and like the shareholders move to a minimum threshold requirement, wherein say if a shareholder is holding less than 5%, then most of these information rights will fall away, and only the key information rights, such as say financial statements of the company, audited financial statements and minutes, is something which will go to the investor from below the threshold. Now, the next right, which is attached to the information right, is the inspection right. Basically, the investor generally what they expect is that they at all times have a the right to inspect the books of the company, the property and the assets of the company, the contracts of the company to ensure that the company is undertaking proper governance mechanism and it's properly run. However, we have never seen that a unanimous inspection right is given with a free hand. There are certain restrictions, say, if there's a cap on the number of inspections that investor can do, say, within a financial year, and the cost that needs to be paid by the company for such inspections. Further, not all investors in the company generally are given the inspection rights, and again, the shareholding threshold is put in, say, any investor who's holding more than 10% in the company should be given an inspection right. So this is just to ensure that the investors get any issues for the company, and basically the operations of the company are run smoothly and not all resources are just stuck in for, say, on with the inspection right. Now moving on to the next and the most key clause, which is most negotiated clause, it comes to a term sheet and given the transaction documents like an SSA or an SHA, and the transfer restriction. So at an early stage, say at a PC stage, when an investor comes in, we expect that he's coming in with an expectation that he gets a good return on his investment. So in order to ensure that, they generally require a promoter lock-in, wherein the promoters are asked, basically there's a restriction on transfers of the shares of the promoters till the time the investor gets an exit from the company. Now, investors generally push for a lock-in, basically that is a lock-in on the whole shares owned by the promoter and the company. However, based on the negotiations between the parties, generally the promoters are allowed certain amount of liquidity of their shares, say 5, 10 or 15% of their shareholding in the company. Again, that is also subject to other restrictions on transferability, wherein say they need to give a right of first offer or right of first refusal. That the most commonly known transfer restrictions in the market. Now, I'll just give a brief overview on what a ROFO and a ROFO is. Now, when it comes to a ROFO, that is the right of first offer. The right holder of it, basically the non-selling shareholder, has the right to make an offer to the seller prior to the seller goes to any third party to sell his shares. And in this situation, the price discovery generally happens by the right holder. In this case, say the investor will have to do the price discovery of the shares. However, when we come to seller, or that is the promoter in this case, would have to go to third party, get an offer, and based on that offer, he'll have to go ahead and inform the investors of the company that he has got a offer for a certain number of shares in the company and at a certain price. The investors again have a right to either accept or reject those offers. The difference between both the price between ROFO and ROFR is the price discovery. In case of a ROFO, the price discovery only happens at the investor or the right holder level, and in case of a ROFR, the price discovery happens at the third party offerer level. Now, say for a promoter, what would be an ideal transfer restriction? Whether it will be a ROFO or a ROFR? Naturally, it will be a ROFO because they don't need to get into the price discovery and into the hassles of going for third party, getting an offer, and they can straight away go to the investors and ask them to give them an offer. If they pay to give an offer, or like if they don't give a full offer, of course the promoter can go to a third party and seek a higher offer. Now, in generally negotiate and discuss the documentation, we have seen that the investors generally push for a ROFR construct because that is more favorable to the promoters, and generally at the early stages that is something which is agreed between the parties. However, if the promoter negotiates with the investors, there are chances that they may also agree to a ROFO construct for any of the transfer restrictions. Now, further, we have also looked at that an investor asks for a tag-along right. So in case the promoter has offered them a ROFR and the investor chooses not to buy out the shares of the promoters, and the promoter goes into say a third party to sell off his shares, and they either get a full tag or a pro rata tag. Now, what does a pro rata tag mean? So say basically if an investor is just transferring his shares, the promoter is transferring his shares, then 50% of his shares, and you need to also pro rata on based on that number, it needs to be 50% exit to the investors as well. I think we'll be coming down to the last one which I discussed. That is a non-complete or a non-solicit obligation that is generally put on a promoter or an employee shareholder of the company. Now, this generally kicks in when say a promoter exits the company or ceases to be employee of the company. In that case, the company puts in a restriction on him to not get into a competing business with the company or get employed by or join a third party who is a competitor of the company. Similarly, when it comes to non-solicit obligations, they cannot solicit any of the employees of the company to join them. I think these are the key clauses which are generally negotiated between the parties. Now, I think over to you, Harshita, for the economic.
So, thank you, Aditya. And I think just to sum up Aditya's discussion in terms of the different clauses and how they are negotiated, there is no yardstick or a standard procedure on how they are dealt with in every negotiation. We can tell you what the market is around these clauses and how, as Aditya mentioned, and how some of these clauses actually turn out to be in the definitive documents and how they get signed up eventually. But in every, just bear in mind, it all depends on your negotiation capability and how you're able to discuss and negotiate and agree with your investor. Moving on to the more critical clauses, Saumya, can we discuss a bit on liquidation preference, anti-dilution, and some of the clauses which actually protect the value or the investment which has been made by the investor? And from there on, maybe we can quickly start our mock negotiation with Abhinav.
So let me start with what the instrument can be, because that becomes a very key aspect of how you can get economic and voting rights on your investment. So as far as receiving foreign direct investment from non-residents is concerned, except for startups where convertible notes are permitted, the primary instruments are equity shares, compulsory convertible preference shares, and cCep, which are compulsory convertible preference shares. So these are the instruments that more in the nature of redemption instruments, which are OPRCS or purely redeemable preference shares. Because these also determine what kind of economic and voting rights you can have on your investment. For example, on preference share, now companies that permit a private company to issue preference shares having voting rights. So you can have voting rights, and as per companies that preference shares by nature have a higher sort of preference over equity shares in a few matters like liquidation winding up. And similarly, a CCD or debenture instrument will not entitle you to voting rights, but it can give you the option of receiving an interest on your debenture. So that becomes a very, very key aspect of how you structure your dividend and your interest side along with your voting rights. So that is the first aspect. Coming to your economic rights, one key term in your term sheet will be a preemptive right. It's a pretty standard right and not too much negotiation happens around it. The essence around this right is basically that an investor should be given a right of participation in every round of funding raised by the company to the extent that the investor should be able to maintain the shareholding of such investor in the company. So again, this clause is beneficial for both the founders and the investor. For the investor, because they won't really get diluted to the extent that they participate in this round of funding. And for the founders, they receive funding from the existing investors itself, and at the fair market valuation, there is no discount in the sense that the investors will pay the same subscription price that is offered to the third party. So this is usually how preemptive right functions. Going to anti-dilution, this is probably, in the family of rights, this is very similar to preemptive, except that anti-dilution is focused specifically on any dilutive issuance done by the company. When I say dilutive issuance, it means that let's say I'm the investor and I subscribe to each share at 100 rupees. If let's say a year from now a company is doing an issuance at 80 rupees per share, it's called a dilutive issuance because the value of my investment is diluting merely because somebody else is getting a higher stake in a company by subscribing or by investing a lesser amount. So the investors usually like to be protected around this sort of issuance. So the simplest way, but a very, very draconian way of dealing with this is what we call a full ratchet right. To just explain it simply, what happens is that it is seen in this mode of anti-dilution that the existing investor also invested at the price at which the new investor is coming in. So, but just to put it straight, these clauses are no longer, we don't see these kind of clauses. What we do see is what is called a weighted average anti-dilution. What this calculation means is that not just the value of the new shares that are coming in are taken into account, but the entire of the outstanding stock of the company is taken into account by deriving the new price of conversion for the existing shareholders. So the number that we usually arrive at is something in between what the subscription price for the investor was and what the new investor is paying. So this is something which is seen as fair and something that we see as candor in our documents. And usually how this is implemented is by adjusting the conversion price. This is also one reason why convertible instruments are always preferred. Then just one clause before I move to the exit side. It's called a most favored nations clause, which is an MSN clause. And this is one of the most highly debated clauses. You can't really say that there's a market standard on this. We see some deals where the investors are okay on pushing for it, and we see some funds insisting on having this. Basically, what this clause really means is that if I'm an investor in a company today, and tomorrow a new investor comes in who's given more favorable rights than me, let's say that if I'm talking about liquidation preference for the call or in terms of dividend, automatically I will be entitled to such higher threshold of rights in the company. So there is no clear market standard on this. It only depends, between the commercial understanding between the promoters and the investor. Quickly moving on to exit clauses. So exit usually what we see is IPO or an mostly the most common form of exit, that is being implemented. So IPO basically, the company gets listed and, the investors and the existing shareholders of the company get a right to sell and trade in those shares. And a third party sale is basically the company being acquired by a third party or even one of the existing investors who wants to buy the rest of the shareholding. And those are two of the most common forms of exit that we see. Other than these, and these are basically forms of exit which are preferred by the promoter. And we also see some instrument-specific exit clauses. For example, if somebody has to instrument, we also see it being given by redeeming their share at a premium. Coming to a couple of other exit clauses which we will be discussing in detail, when we do the long negotiation. So one is, a drag option and the other is a put and call option. So these are not promoter or trigger exit clauses. These are basically clauses usually that an investor prefers to exercise when the company and the promoters are unable to provide an exit. So in a put option, basically what happens is the investor has a right to sell their shares and the promoter will be obliged to buy the shares at a predetermined price. And a call option is where, let's say, the investor wants to buy the company and the promoter will be obliged to sell their shares at a predetermined price. So this is one option. And the other one is a drag where, let's say, the investor has found a buyer who is interested in buying all or majority stake in the company. So in that case, the investor has the right to drag along all the remaining shareholders individually or at least the promoters, so that they are obliged to sell their shares also at a price to the investor to whom the shareholder is selling their shares. And coming last to liquidation preference, basically this is a concept where where the parties agree on how the proceeds of liquidation, and for the purpose of your shareholder agreement, liquidation normally means winding up. It's basically any sort of sale of the company, even third party sale, how these will be distributed. There are two key types of liquidation preference. One is a participating and non-participating. Participating is where, in addition to the investor receiving the liquidation preference previously agreed, for example, if I'm the investor and I have a 1x liquidation preference, which means that before anybody gets any money out of the company, I should get the capital I invested in the company. In addition to that, the investor also gets to dip into the remaining capital, which is distributed amongst the other equity shareholders. Non-participating is where, the promoter or the investor takes out their liquidation preference and that the remaining amount is distributed between the other shareholders. So we just are not delving too much into it because we've been doing our own information. So these are primarily the broad economic related concepts that are included in the notion. Harshita.
Yeah, thank you, Saumya, for just giving a quick overview on the clauses. I think for the benefit of the audience, what we've done is we've just set up a mock negotiation where Abhinav will obviously act as the investor and negotiate on behalf of an investor, and I and Saumya will act, and negotiate on behalf of a founder of a company on some of these very critical clauses like liquidation preference, drag along, and maybe just see on how it actually plays out on a negotiation table when it comes to the investors. And assuming we have a term sheet or we are negotiating a term sheet which has these clauses which have come from Abhinav. Saumya, let's start with LICREP because that's what the last note of the previous session had just been flowed there. So let's start with negotiating the LICREP where we are insisting that we should get, the investor should just get a non-participating liquidation preference in their favor, and Abhinav's point on the term sheet is that they should get a participating, and maybe Abhinav is the VC investor of this one. Let's just shoot on that.
Sure. So Abhinav, while we appreciate and understand the risk that you're taking with your VC investment into the company, and as promoters, we want to make sure that you have the entire data as to how much we value your investment and a complete intent to return your investment to you. What we also want to acknowledge is, the early investors who came into our company and gave us seed funding. So we only think that it's fair that we want to return the money to you first. So we would like to give you your liquidation preference, your 1x first, and whatever cash is left behind in the company will be distributed among the equity shareholders. And I also want to take a moment to point out that there is also a higher element of risk being taken by the common equity holders now, because in any event, for instance, at the time of liquidation, for whatever reason, if the company is not doing very well and the liquidation preference of all the shareholders cannot be satisfied, then at that point of time, pretty much the promoters and the early stage investors are anyway taking the risk of getting no return.
Saumya, I understand the point you're making, but I appreciate that for me, while this is a risk investment, it doesn't mean that I don't want to participate in the upside. So liquidation preference is a clause for me is obviously to protect my capital, but that doesn't mean that because I have a right to protect my capital, I should not have an opportunity to participate in the profits. And that is basically what we have proposed. We are taking an early bet on the company. We are taking obviously a risk investing at this point. For all we know, in the unfortunate situation that there is not a very favorable outcome, I would want the opportunity to protect my investment. But if there is a favorable outcome, I would want to have my investment amount back and obviously also participate in the available profits. So I would request you to accept our proposal and
Abhinav, I also noticed that one of the comments in the term sheet that you had put down was that instead of the liquid being 1x, you've insisted on a 1.5x liquid, which is essentially not standard. So what we typically see, and since you're coming in at such an early stage, and as Saumya, my co-founder, just mentioned, it is risk investment. So asking for a 1.5x liquid over and above the fact that you're insisting on digging into the profits of the company in terms of participating there, I think it's a little bit unreasonable from the founder and the common equity shareholder standpoint, because essentially after paying you 1.5x, and allowing you to participate in the common equity, we would be left with nothing. Where we have invested our time and efforts into the company in terms of building the company. I don't know where will we stand if we reach tomorrow's situation where we have to distribute the profits at this time.
So I appreciate your point. I think we can settle for a 1x participating, and if that's something which is
Saumya, do you have any thoughts around on this?
Yeah, so Harshita, I think to sort of address Abhinav's concerns as well, we could counter propose a higher 1x or pro rata, basically to avoid a double dip sort of situation, where depending on the amount that will be available for distribution at the time of the liquidation event, we give a preference to the investor, whereby he can decide where if he stands to make a benefit by exercising 1x or pro rata, and after making the decision at that time, there is no further reduction. So is there something Abhinav that you want to you as a point?
So, Saumya, fair enough. I understand where you guys are coming from. In any case, we strongly believe that this company will grow minds, and in that situation, this liquidation preference would not really be relevant. All of us will make money pro rata for our shareholding. In the interest of closure, we can agree for 1x non-participative.
That's helpful. Moving on to your next, one of the other points in the term sheet where you were insisting on a put option on the promoters. So, Saumya, you want to take that point up in terms of how we see it as founders? I think there's a little bit of problem in terms of imposing an obligation on us to buy them out, and considering the fact that we may not have liquidity as promoters tomorrow to buy, so it looks a little difficult. So I mean, you have any thoughts on that?
Sure. So Abhinav, completely like I said, we are investors as our partners, and we would like to believe that our interests are aligned. So accordingly, and that is why we have such detailed exit rights for the investors, agreed in the term sheet. And if for some reason, and like you said, it's very helpful and hopeful that you think our business is going to do well. So from that perspective, we've given an IPO right, there's a third party sale, and in fact, in addition to that, there is also a drag right, which the mechanics of which we'll be discussing shortly. There is a drag right also, and there are, your redeemable nature of instruments, etc. So in addition to that, a put and call option is a very problematic, because one of the main reasons is that it's almost like there is a personal obligation expected out of us as founders to the extent that if an exit is not provided, then we might, if we don't have a liquidity, then we could be looking at a situation whereby we can fulfill this obligation only by touching upon our personal funds and not with the funds relating to the business. So we would really appreciate that all the exit rights and options and even the post-exit rights of the investor are only in relation to the company, and the promoter should not be required to support the personal funds of the promoter. Accordingly, also, like Harshita pointed out, liquidity is clearly one issue, and also considering the fact that there is an element of risk for all parties involved, and in a way we are all in this together. So even when a certain situation like that arises, we do whatever is best for the company.
So, Saumya, fair enough. We are okay to not have put option as an exit mechanism for us. So far as everything is going well, but we would like to at least let you know that during definitive documents we may have the put option as a remedy in case of fraud and certain other breaches and defaults. But that's something which we can take up in the definitive documents and not really.
Thank you, Abhinav, for being a little accommodative in this one. I think the last point in terms of the critical clauses where we would like to talk to you was on exit. So in the exit, as you see, the waterfall is built in to provide an exit to the investors in terms of first getting an IPO or a QIPO done. Where the promoters and we are facilitating and agreeing that we will provide you an IPO within the exit period, which is in this term sheet 5 years from the date of investment. Thereafter, we also see that you ask for a buyback right, where you are asking the company to buy you back if the IPO or QIPO fails. And we also have a third-party sale mechanism where we are trying to, where you are asking the promoters to facilitate a third-party sale in case the buyback and the IPO do not work, in terms of the price or the terms as you were requesting for. Now, quickly to touch upon that, as a promoter of the company, and considering that we obviously have an obligation towards all of the investors on board in terms of providing an exit and facilitating an exit to them, within the exit horizon. We are undertaking the responsibility to give you an exit by way of an IPO and a third-party sale. Buyback poses, of course, some constraints. I believe, and I've heard from my lawyers in terms of, the tax constraints that I have, which impose I think a 20% tax on the company, by virtue of which it will not be tax efficient for me to undertake the buyback. But having or including a drag option, it seems a bit draconian, because I am whatever is in our means as promoters to help you get an exit, we are trying to do. And you also have the ability after the exit period expires to go and sell your shares out in the open market, in terms of whatever price and terms match your preference. So do you really think we need a drag along right here? Because even enforceability, and we'll touch upon it, whether I don't know if it will be enforceable in the Indian legal context, but at least from a commercial standpoint, it seems that it's a bit too harsh on us to ask for a drag along. Beyond our consent. We build the company, we may want to run it as much. If you want an exit, we are helping you provide, through the 3 means that we just discussed.
So, Harshita, that's going to be a non-starter for us. You have to understand that our fund, like most of the funds, is a limited life fund, and we need to have a certain end date after which all bets are off. If we are not able to if the company is not able to provide me an exit in a 5-year, 6-year time frame, after that, I would want to have the right to either sell my stake, and because I would end up being a minority shareholder, someone would not want to just acquire my stake but want to acquire the company. If the company and the founders have not been able to give me an exit within that identified period, I would want to have the right to sell my shares, and not just my shares, but even the shares of the founder and anyone else who's a shareholder to a willing third party on the terms that at which I can get an exit. And that's why drag is very, very critical to me, because it's very important for me to have to be able to ascertain that after a point of time, I am able to control the fate of the company because I need to reach out. I would also want you to appreciate that it's not something which I would do willingly or I would want to, and that's why there is a period of 5-6 years or what we would agree on, given to grow the company to a certain level and then provide an exit either to the investors or to everyone else. But not to have a drag right after the exit period is expired is something which would not be possible for us to do. I request you to please.
But just on your point, that picking up from that, when you say that you want to have that right after the exit period expires in order to, for you to be freely able to sell, you have that right even today. Your shares in the company are not, are not restricted.
The point is not just about selling my shares. So let's play the scenario out. If we have reached a situation where exit's not being provided in a certain agreed time frame, it means that either the company is not doing too well, or it means that the founders and the investors are not on the same page. Now, if I am able to find a buyer only for my shares, fair enough, I will go ahead and sell. But if I am not able, and say there is a strategic investor who wants to acquire the company, not just my shareholder, but wants to acquire the company, or there is a strategic player who has certain business alignment with what the company does, I have to have the right to go ahead and strike a deal with that person. And typically, they would not want to hold 10%, 15% now. They would not want to hold even just 20-25%. They would actually want to have controlling stake because they are looking at it strategically and not purely as an investment. And in such a situation, I need to have the contractual right to whether I exercise it or not is a question for the future. But for me to have that right is very important, because otherwise my exit becomes without a clear time frame, and my rights also do not get expanded, even though a certain identified period has expired, and I'm still sitting in the company as a shareholder, which I don't control.
So just on the last, to end this discussion, and maybe probably I'll leave you with this thought, and you can get back to us. When you say that you want the ability in terms of an M&A, or you can negotiate them. So we are in this boat together with you, Abhinav, in terms of being the founders and we are onboarding you. So tomorrow, if an M&A situation happens where the company is, the valuations are going bad, or we're not in good terms with each other, we can discuss the terms of the M&A at that time. I mean, as a founder, I would also not want to start my own baby at that time. So I would probably agree to the terms that are being offered by a potential purchaser. Let's not have a right, was my only submission here. Let's not have a right like drag, where the enforceability of it under the Indian laws, which I understand is also in question, and put it in black and white, and specifically when you know that we may not be able to enforce that, or it may just be difficult to put it to translate it into action when it comes to that. Saumya, would you want to throw some light around, around the enforceability aspect? If,
Sure. So, Abhinav, like Harshita pointed out, one is, the whole commercial aspect of whether right of this nature should be there. And secondly, there is also this whole question on how accessible is the drag under law. So, especially for a private limited company, I understand that under Contract Act, as long as there is, free consent of the parties and adequate consideration and that should be absolutely enforceable. However, from a, foreign liquidation as under lit prep, and like we discussed liquidation cases a short while ago, there is also some doubt on how enforceable a liquidation preference under Indian laws will be. Hence, marrying your liquidation preference and your drag along right together, it may be quite difficult to enforce it because there could be questions on who really a third party is for the purpose of effecting a drag, in an M&A situation like you mentioned. So, how do you propose that we happen? What if a promoter is unable to just enforce the drag over issues under Indian law with respect to enforcing it? And similarly, if you look at the companies that in India, while there is no prohibition, shareholders are free to enter into any sort of agreement between themselves, with respect to transfer restriction. But again, right of this nature, which sort of obliges a party to put forward as for sale, considering it's not really being tested, in jurisdictions in India, only before the issue.
Saumya, two things. There are ways and mechanisms in which these clauses can be implemented. I agree with you, it's not being tested, but the fact that it's not being tested doesn't mean it's not enforceable. It very well can be enforceable. There may be questions around it, and there can be structures figured out to implement. On the question of enforceability per se, it's something which I need because I'm ready to take the risk of testing it out in the courts if at all it comes to that. I hope it doesn't. But it's something which I need because otherwise I'm a sitting duck in a company whose board I don't control, where my shareholding is that of a minority shareholder, and I don't have the right to do anything, even though I've not invited any exit over a 5-6 year time. And if enforceability, if there is so much of an issue around enforceability, what's the harm? Blackmail is right. It's my headache to enforce it anyway.
Understood. I think on that note, we will move on to the next page and end the negotiation here. Hope the audience found it, a little engaging and they enjoy doing it. And I hope you sincerely enjoy doing it when you're doing it with Abhinav on the tables.
I just want to about a word of caution. This was sort of enacted and friendly. On liquidation preference and a put option on the founders. Generally, you would, and I hope you don't find these clauses, they are not really standard. A drag right is actually standard, and people may not, investors may not agree to profit. But don't consider this to be generally how negotiations go. They can be more heated, they can be a lot more elongated. We just wanted to throw that caution.
So I think on that note, and I think before I step on to the last questions, for this series, because we're also running out of time and we've extended the session by 15 minutes. Just to end this negotiation, as you just saw, we have the investor and the promoter come with different perspectives on the table when it comes to each of these clauses. There is no standard cookie cutter solution to each of these clauses to say that this is how it happens. There are deals which are done in terms of some of the standard clauses which we see panning up. But again, everything depends on how your negotiation capability is when you are sitting against the investor on a table. To just quickly pick up on some of the questions in terms of whether legal action can be taken against the company for not honoring certain clauses, or whether buyback can become a personal liability of the founder. The answer to the second one is no. It's not a personal liability of the founder. It would largely be the company's obligation to buy back. The personal liability, as a word of caution, we would say that refrain from entering into any kind of obligation or taking up any obligation where your personal liability can be questioned. So as much as possible, push it, and do not take upon yourself. Put option, as we just discussed, becomes a personal liability onto you in terms of purchasing the shares of the investor when it's called upon. Whether there has been a legal action against companies' founders for not honoring these provisions, yes, there have been loads where we have judgments in terms of where the founders haven't fulfilled the obligation under this document. And you also agree to a provision in your definitive documents which says that if the founder fails to honor any of its obligations, he will be liable, he or she will be liable for legal action. Now, I think moving on to another important question which has been coming in from our participants, and that should probably sum up the discussion for today, is has the manner in which these rights are negotiated changed in the times, which is the COVID-19 times, as we can put it. So over to you, Abhinav, again for this last bit. Has it changed with respect to negotiations? How have the deal, how are you seeing deals changing or negotiations changing because of the new situation that we are all in?
So, Harshita, like most things which are a commercial negotiation, it is a matter of leverage to a great extent. And unfortunately, how the market is today, those investors who are investing have the leverage, and so obviously they are using it. But it's not just a matter of leverage; it's also a matter of risk. And those who are putting in money in today's time are definitely taking a lot more risk than what someone would have 6 months back, and accordingly, well, they have mandates from their investors too, because this is not personal money which funds are investing, to definitely be more careful, to factor in more risk, and accordingly build in protections. So some of these things are changing. I would not say they are becoming the norm. I'm sure things will go back to normal once the market changes. But because there is a lot more risk, or at least perceived risk attached to investments today, investors are in some cases, say for instance, when they are bridging a company, where the company is either running out of cash or needs more cash to continue on growth, survival, or whether they are bridging a company which is heading into an M&A, investors are asking for a more heavier or legal clauses. For instance, liquidation preference, investors are actually asking for a 2x liquidation preference instead of the standard 1x non-participative. In case of exit rights, investors are actually saying that, hey, there will be a deeper monitoring of the business and the performance, and we would have the right to drag the company if those things are not met. There's things like housekeeping drag which is coming in, wherein there's a possibility of, say, there are 3 founders, out of the 3, one founder can actually get minoritized, and if some of the investors and founders feel that the company can be dragged, the company can be dragged. So the market and the scenario is developing, and investors are more cautious, and investors, those who are taking risks, wants to be protected in different and more stringent manner.
Understand. I think on that note, maybe Aditya, can you just plug in one, maybe very quickly, if you can, summarize for the audience, because there are a lot of questions which are coming in terms of the due diligence process as well. Can you just sum up quickly on how important is the due diligence process in this whole, fundraising process? Just quickly touch upon it, because we will have a detailed session, just for the benefit of for everybody on due diligence and structures and DD issues in the coming weeks. But just to quickly touch upon and close the topic for today, maybe Aditya, you can throw some light.
Sure, Harshita. So due diligence processes are quite important in a fundraising cycle, because DD is conducted mainly to ascertain the value of the business, whatever the investor had ascertained the value, is it still standing good, after looking at all the issues that have come up, and to just ascertain what are the exposures that the company has. And basically, when a due diligence process is conducted, there are issues that come out, and they can be mainly categorized into 2 issues. One which can be resolved, is only resolved as a condition precedent or condition subsequent to the closing. The ones which cannot be resolved are generally negotiated with the representations and qualities that are included in the documents, and the specific indemnities in relation to such issues. I think that we can discuss in detail in the next session when we take up.
Sure. I think on that note, create. So on that note, I would like to bring it into this session, I think we've tried to answer as many questions as we could for the sessions. For the answers which we couldn't take up, we will try and respond to you appropriately offline.